Hi everyone, I'm back again. So a few years later, I thought I'd resurrect this thread because I had some issues and I just wanted to post this in case it helps anybody else. So it turns out sort of everyone was kind of right in this thread. I was kind of right, I think, in my original thinking that when I installed the clutch dog per the pictures and then was told to turn it around the other way around, I think I was actually correct, but also Joe Reeves and I think a few others posted that the groove should face forwards, and that was correct. But what I realised, that perhaps I didn't mention in the original post, was that the clutch dog was an aftermarket clutch dog. And so to go back a few steps here, the why I've got this apart again a few years later is I do have some problems with the dog slipping out of gear. And it's been some years now. I had this motor working, but occasionally I would hear this kind of boom sort of sound when it was slipping out of gear. And it got worse and eventually got to the point now where it just doesn't go really in forwards or reverse without slipping out of gear. There is a fair bit of wear on the actual gears, not like a crazy amount, but the actual dog on there is getting a bit worn now, as you can see. And from what I remember on the previous dog I took off, which was, let's see which one that was. I think it was this one. It was actually surprising how little wear, like on the corner, that was needed to actually stop it. On this particular one, it was stopping going in reverse. So anyway, I had to get a new part, but I just wasn't going to front the $1,000+ to get the whole gear set. I thought this time I'm just going to replace the whole damn thing. So just to be on the safe side, rather than just doing the dog, which seems to be just wearing, probably because it's an aftermarket dog and it's probably not machined correctly to the forward and reverse gear and so on, I decided to just go and bite the bullet and get a full set. But I'm just not going to front the few $1,000s. Literally the full set costs more than the engine is actually worth secondhand. So I had to sort of close my eyes and order another aftermarket part, which was from a company called Gear Pros. Comes from the US. They seem fairly reputable. You know, it's aftermarket. What can I say? Sorry, but you know, when times must. So this is where I got really confused and why I think the plot kind of thickened here and why I wanted to resurrect this thread. So here you'll see in the instructions very clearly, it says position the 3-jaw clutch dog onto the prop shaft with the groove position, that's the little groove on the outside of the dog that we discussed in the thread, towards the prop end of the shaft, towards the propeller. And so that kind of got me because it wasn't kind of matching what I thought, how I thought it should be. So this is basically where the problem started. And so I actually thought that the dog was supposed to go the other way around and was told it wasn't. So as a point of reference, we'll start with the original part. So this basically doesn't lie because this is, I believe, the actual original part. I think it might even be the original that came with the motor, but it's stamped OMC. It's definitely original. And you can see here, prop end, it's very clear. I like the ones that actually say in words prop end because it's not really ambiguous. This ridiculous stuff with the groove, and yeah, it can get quite confusing. And also grooves in terms of like which grooves you're talking about and so on, that gets quite confusing. So anyway, this is definitely correct. But what I noticed was something else. So I don't mean to harp on about this kind of grooves on the inside. And I know a lot of people commented on this that are a lot more clever than I am with these things. But I do notice this trend and I do want to kind of stick to my guns a little bit on this one. So this is the original, and the grooves inside, or not grooves, but what would you call them? Don't know the technical word for that, but the splines, I think is the correct word for those. The splines go all the way to the forward side and they do not appear on the backward side. And I posted in a forum some time ago, I kind of thought this was significant, but a lot of people were saying, no, it's not significant. Trust the groove on the outside. Don't worry about that. And I believe that's actually caused me to end up putting this the wrong way around. And I'll explain why. So this we know is correct because it says prop end. It goes on this way like this. And the grooves would therefore, the splines would go all the way to the end. And I have a theory about that. I could be mistaken. I literally am not very expert with these things. But my theory is that whilst you're going at like high speeds, there's more necessity to have more grip on the dog in a forward position than there would be if you were going in reverse, because you're not pushing reverse very hard. I don't know. This is a theory. I don't know. Who knows? But I'm just pointing an observation here that seems to match. So that's correct this way round. Then we go into the next one. So this, a few years later or sometime, the previous owner put this on it. This is a Sierra aftermarket part. Here's the part number. Now that was installed this way round, and it has the grooves going forwards. And if you line this up, so basically like this, what I also noticed was that the hole in here basically kind of lines up almost exactly. So you've got the hole and then a, what do you call this? A sticky outy bit. And then you've got a hole and a sticky outy bit. So this is matching quite similarly. And then, so this started wearing, and eventually this got worn and I needed to replace it. So I ended up getting I thought that I ordered the same aftermarket part. I've been going through my records of which part I bought, and I'm pretty sure it was the same Sierra one. For some strange reason, it's different and it's stamped with this number. I can't for the life of me find that number online anywhere, but I'm pretty sure it's actually, well, it was supposed to be the same part, but quite commonly when you order aftermarket parts, they end up not actually being the aftermarket one you ordered. So I've got a funny feeling this is just something completely different. But this is the one I posted on about the forums, and got a load of feedback saying this is definitely the right way around. I think this was incorrect, and it was slipping out of gear. And if you look at how it's positioned, so this is exactly how I found it. I haven't touched it. Lo and behold, there's no splines on that side. So I believe it should have been correct this way round, which means that the groove was pointing, the groove on the outside was pointing to the back, to the prop end. And that would basically mean the splines were there present with the forward side. And that would match this. And if you look at the original, again, we know that's definitely correct. If I spin that baby around, you can see how the hole would also line up. So you've got here the hole, and then you've got this kind of sticky out a bit, hole, sticky out a bit, hole, sticky out a bit. So it's kind of lining up like it should be that way. If I do it the other way, how I had installed it, with the groove going towards the forward side, you wouldn't get that same line up with the hole. The hole doesn't line up there, and then the hole is slightly higher on here. So it implies to me that this is wrong. And again, this is a very newbie observation, but I just gonna stick to my guns on this one, that I really think it was supposed to go this way round. And I think the bit that was, you know, in fairness, I didn't state, I don't know if I stated in the thread that this was an aftermarket part, which probably makes a world of difference. And probably what would have been good is if I had some instructions with this damn thing to say which way round it was supposed to be. But anyway, so that's that. So that's basically how it was, and it's problematic, and it is slipping out of gear, which has got worse over time. So now fast forward, and I have bought this new aftermarket part. These are brand new, and I've got an entire set. So I've got the forward gear and the reverse gear. I've got the pinion gear somewhere in here, the whole set. So this is machined together. And Gear Pros is saying very clearly here that the groove positions, this is the groove on the outside of the dog, should go towards the prop end of the shaft. So that's the piece here. So again, if we use the same logic, and lo and behold, look at the splines on the inside. So you've got the splines going towards the forward side. You've got the groove there. They're saying it's supposed to go to the prop end. So they're saying in their particular machining, this is supposed to face towards the prop end. And so this appears to be, well, this is how they're saying it's correct. It's obviously not a Johnson part, so I can't trust what any of the manual says or anything. It doesn't have any words stamped on it, unfortunately, on this one. Would be handy. But that's what they're saying, that the groove, that's definitely the groove. It's definitely going to go that way. So again, if we line it up again, do my little holy sticky outy test, which I'm probably going to get flamed down for, but I don't know. I believe in this test. So you've got the hole, and you've got the sticky outy bit. Again, hole, sticky outy bit, hole, sticky outy. This is the original. We know that's right. So far, this is, and if I did this, you know, the wrong way around, so the other way, you would not get that line up. You'd not get the hole with the sticky outy bit. You'd not get the hole with the sticky outy bit there. It's too high. And so, and also, you wouldn't get this spline in the right direction. So my original theory was always that the splines are important. And I just stick by that. I'd love for someone to confirm that for me. I know everyone was posting saying this doesn't matter. I think to some degree, yes, it doesn't matter if it's an original Johnson part and it's saying, you know, which way the groove should go. But yeah, so as what I'm going to do in this particular case is, obviously this is the aftermarket part. This is what it's saying. It's saying that the groove has to go, with their machining, this has to go towards the prop end. So this is correct. And this would mean now that the splines would go towards forwards, and it would actually be the opposite way to how it's on now. So that's how I'm going to test it out. I've got a feeling this was actually the original problem that for a few years back, that it was actually wrong and it was actually supposed to be the other way around. So I thought I'd post this just because I think it's kind of interesting, and there's not a lot of documentation on this, especially when it comes to aftermarket parts. I'd love if someone was able to confirm my theory about these grooves, these splines inside. I really just think that you'll always find that the splines on this side will point towards forwards, but I'd love for someone to prove me wrong or confirm if that's correct, because that would just be a much easier way to determine this, because then if it was aftermarket or not, it seems there's always splines on one side. So that would just be a much easier way to determine if you've got it right, rather than this ridiculous groove business. So anyway, that's me, over and out.